I've been carp fishing for, I'd say, at least close to 20 years now. I first started back on the Norfolk Broads with my grandparents. My aunt and uncle took me fishing with my brothers. Come back, got the bug, about secondary age, in terms of school, a couple of friends were fishing, and we got really into our fishing that way, going together, going to several places, having our parents drop us off. We then went on to other places, onto syndicates, such as Chill and Mill, and some other gold membership waters. Small, intimate waters where they are, you can see them. But the problem with those waters is that they tend to be a lot harder to fish. Just because you can see them doesn't necessarily make the fishing any easier. I enjoy my time on the big pits and fishing 140 odd yards, but it's much nicer having the carp, 10 wraps or 4 wraps or even 2 wraps in front of you, and you can see them taking the hook bait. Now, some people would say it's your first 30, but it's actually my first 40 out in France that's my memorable catcher, purely because I had the fish at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and all excited, went and woke my mate Mark up, woke him up, told him I've had a 40, for him to come and do the photos. I've sacked it up. Mark then come to me about 11 o'clock in the morning and said, I had a dream you had a 40. I said, yes, I've already done the weight, I've done the photos and already put it back, and I had to show him that I had a 40. Oh, do you know, my worst fishing experience, and this has got to have happened to so many people, and I actually forgot my tackle box on one of my first waters on one of my syndicates in Paddock Wood area. Got down to the lake, forgot my tackle box. I'd done all my rigs up, all pre-tied, and I left them at home in the shed. So I'm going around, scrounging off other members. Can I have can I have a hook? Literally everything. Hooks, needles, line, tubing, swivels. The bloody lot was absolutely left at home. And other people were going to leave their rods at home. Personally, leaving your tackle box at home is a lot more worse than leaving your rods or bite alarms at home. So I don't have a favourite rig because it depends on the situation, but I tend to use a multi-hinge for my pop-ups, and then for my bottom baits or wafters I use a D-rig, normally either IQ or I do mine with a German style. One tip is actually to put your lid on your bucket to stop all the dogs coming around here and nicking all your bait. In terms of footfall, kids, fires with the kids, especially in the summer holidays, they then tend to stay away, except they like to throw stuff into the water, so you never know what snags you're going to come across, and just because you're fishing one spot today that's nice and clear, it won't necessarily be clear next week. Do you know what, this place, it's not quite funny to be fair, but this place is built on gunpowder. So they used to do all the gunpowder here, and they had a fire and an explosion a good couple of years ago, and there's stories around all the dead bodies in terms of ghosts, etc. I've had a situation where I've been fishing one of the swims and something's rubbing on or scratching on the back of my bivvy. And I turned around, put the light on, nothing there. Went back to bed, same thing happened again. No, nothing there. Phoned up my mate of mine. Mate, are you taking are you trying to scare me or something? I said, no mate, I'm down another swim. So we can only put it down to one of the ghosts, Kevin, or either that or a fox was trying to get to my bait, either or. So it all depends on the venue where I'm fishing. For example, today I've got a little small parcel of bait, trying to get just one buddy at a time. And then the other places that I'll be fishing, I'll be putting in 5 to 10 kilo of bait spread across a tennis court with a throwing stick.
So it's all dependent on lake?
It's all dependent on lake and depending on where I'm fishing, and also the situation. For example, if they were absolutely having it today, then the 20-30 kilo of bait that I've got on me today, with mixture of boilie, pellet, would be going in the pond.
What about PVA bag, Ken? Do you tend to use them?
I've got, actually, funny enough, I've got one rod today on a PVA bag. I don't tend to use a PVA bag too much this time of year. It normally is in the winter, throwing PVA bags around with a little bit of oil in them, normally. But no, yeah, today I've got a PVA bag purely because I'm trying to get underneath the actual canopy of the trees. So I'm trying to fire it in and get underneath the trees. You can't do that with a lead or line, purely because you're going to get caught up in the trees. I'm going to come and show you later on. You're going to see a couple of images of the weed that was pulled in today, and that's all just been hand pulled in with a nice little sea lead that we've come up with. Thank Mark for that little tip for that one, and also some of our rakes as well that we used to drag in. Now, when it comes to fishing these sort of waters, we are allowed a braid on this water. It's an absolute godsend using the braid. You can break up through the braid if you're playing a fish quite nicely. If you're using mono, you tend to get too much of a stretch. With braid, you don't give them an inch purely because you don't want them to get into the snags.
So, my actual question, Ken.
Oh, okay.
My actual question was, how do you attack a lake that's this weedy?
Rake it. You know, pick your venues. Don't pick somewhere where you're not comfortable. If you don't like fishing in the weed, don't go to a weedy water. If you want to go fishing, go fish these actual runs water, these places where you're gonna have 10, 20, 50, 20 fish in a day. Don't pick the places where you're gonna have maybe 2 fish a year.